from the heart of America. I'm Steve Gruber, ready to deliver an inclusive and diverse discussion on the most important topics of the day, giving you better analysis than anyone else. Shining a spotlight into the swamp to see what comes out. We'll give you justice. We'll give you truth. Here are three big things you need to know right now to start your day. Number one, a federal judge drops the bomb on the Biden administration's outrageous overreach on trying to control every drop of water in the country. Number two, a history lesson on what can go wrong with a thriving civilization. The Mayans, what really caused the collapse of their world? I have a surprising answer. And number three, all eyes on the Manhattan District Attorney as he tries to turn water into wine. But that's something well above his pay grade, I'm sorry to say. 7 years after a payment, better known as a non-disclosure agreement, was put together between parties for Donald Trump and then a candidate for president and a former porn actress, Stormy Daniels, to keep details of a possible one-night stand hidden from the public. Well, the DA in Manhattan, Alvin Bragg, trying to turn that routine event into a felony. This morning, I'm going to tear that apart. First, with some comments from Donald Trump that came late last night on Truth Social. The former president stepping up, talking about the 4 pending cases against him. New York, Florida, Georgia, all of it. Here it is.
These 4 horrible, radical left Democrat investigations of your all-time favorite president, me, is just a continuation of the most disgusting witch hunt in the history of our country. It's gone on forever with Russia, and Ukraine, and the Mueller hoax. It's an absolute disgrace what's going on. They even spied on my campaign. And remember this, with all of the work that they did on Mueller, no collusion. That's what the answer was all no collusion. Whether it's the Mar-a-Lago raid or the Unselect Committee hoax, the perfect Georgia phone call, it was absolutely perfect, or the Stormy Horseface Daniels extortion plot, they're all sick, and it's fake news. Our enemies are desperate to stop us because they know that we are the only ones who can stop them, and they know it very strongly. And they're looking at the polls where, not me, but we are up by so much. They can't even believe it. We won twice, and now we've got to win a third time. They know that we can defeat them. They know that we will defeat them. But they're not coming after me. They're coming after you. I'm just standing in their way, and I always will stand in their way. Thank you very much.
And there you have it. The comments from Donald Trump posted to Truth Social late last night. Now, for the rest of the morning here, we're going to dig deep into this. Is it really going to happen? Is Alvin Bragg really going to do this? Well, I'm going to have a conversation here with one of America's preeminent legal minds and a hardcore liberal by his own definition. I had this conversation yesterday with Alan Dershowitz. That's right. Alan Dershowitz joined me on America's Voice Live to discuss what is happening with charges possibly being filed against Donald Trump, possibly as early as today, something he says has almost no merit at all. Here's the first part.
I've been writing about Trump and the targeting of Trump now for quite some time, and the book has a detailed rebuttal of the charges currently against him, not only in the case in New York, the Bragg case, but the 3 other cases, the case in Florida, the case in Georgia, and the case in the District of Columbia. There's plenty of smoke, but there's no fire here, no criminal acts by Trump based on any of these 4 allegations. But the weakest one is the New York one. It's the weakest legally, the weakest factually, and the weakest politically. And yet the DA and the Attorney General of New York, who ran on the campaign slogan of Get Trump, I got the name of my book, basically off their campaign, Get Trump. They, and particularly Bragg, is determined to get him and to run for re-election on that trophy. And It distorts American law. It creates a precedent for targeting political opponents. It's very dangerous for America.
Very dangerous for America, so says Alan Dershowitz. Says this is Russian KGB tactics. Now, we'll get to that more in a moment, but first this. There's so much going on with all of this, I have to break it all down for you. Now, make no mistake, the Chi-Coms in Russia, they're all cheering this on, pushing it on social media, ramping it up, probably investing in it to do their best to bring down Donald Trump altogether. I have no reason not to believe exactly that. With the social media influence and money being passed around by Chairman Xi, there's just simply no reason not to believe that they're not powering TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and all of those places. Probably even Twitter, even despite Elon Musk. Now, Bob Costello testified to the grand jury yesterday for more than 2 hours, apparently, in front of Alvin Bragg. And he said that Michael Cohen, the star witness here, Michael Cohen, is a serial liar. Michael Cohen, who was sentenced to 3 years in prison for perjury for his involvement in some different things in Trump's orbit. A serial liar, he was called. You see, here's the problem with the case at hand in New York. Stormy Daniels, who owes Donald Trump hundreds of thousands of dollars for breaking the non-disclosure agreement. You see, these non-disclosure agreements happen every day. They happen every single day. And in this particular case, it was made public. And so, therefore, they're trying to make hay out of it as much as they possibly can. Bob Costello, he was a legal analyst, an legal mind next to Michael Cohen. And he said that he was the former legal advisor to Michael Cohen. That's what he was. That's the term I'm looking for. There can be no doubt in anyone's mind that Michael Cohen has great difficulty telling the truth, said Costello outside the courthouse yesterday. He is, after all, a convicted perjurer. And our track record with Mr. Cohen convinced us that he was a serial liar. As might be expected, Mr. Cohen's lies were always uttered in a way that was beneficial to himself. When it was in Mr. Cohen's personal self-interest, he was capable of telling the truth, but those occasions were few and far between. If Bob Costello's comments were any more fantastical, he'd be a best-selling fiction author, said Michael Cohen in retort. Look, this is a garbage case. A garbage case. When we come back, Alan Dershowitz is going to dig into that because he is a guy who has voted for everybody running against Trump so far, and he will do it again. He doesn't like Donald Trump. He's an old-school liberal. He doesn't like Donald Trump at all, but what he likes less are political prosecutions, witch hunts, going after people. Because what you see right now is the ability to go after the number one opponent for Democrats, the number one opponent for Democrats in the 2024 presidential election. If they're allowed to take out the biggest threat to their campaign by using garbage tactics like this, we're through. We're done. If they can use the machinery of the state to grind up opponents legally and destroy them, we're done. Sit tight. We've got a lot more digging to do after the break here on the Steve Gruber Show.